This is the Randomer Nintendo podcast for November 8th, 2023, or 7th. I don't know when this is going to go live. I am your host for today, Kevin, and to my virtual left, as always, is Jason, the Bachelor.
Hello. Yes, not the one that gives out roses on TV, the one that was just in New Orleans with some friends here on this very recording, celebrating upcoming nuptials. To my virtual right is one of those individuals, Angel.
That's me.
That is Angel. Yeah, we went to New Orleans.
To NOLA, the Big Easy, the other nicknames I don't know for it.
Is that what they call it now?
The Big Easy?
I never knew that they actually called it
that.
that.
Yeah. Big Easy is one of his nicknames, as is NOLA. I'm sure there's a bunch of other. Jazz City? Jazzy Town?
Jazz City.
Jazz Capital USA? I don't know. They have
that one place from Disneyland? That's what I call it.
That one place from Disneyland?
New Orleans Square. It was pretty much just that.
I mean, I will say, when we were walking, the three of us and a couple others were walking to that convenience store by our hotel, there were definitely comparisons being made to. So there's French Quarter, which is like old traditional New Orleans, and then there's the Central Business District, which is like a normal downtown. And we were definitely having the conversation of how the Central Business District architecture of trying to make it look like French Quarter with the balconies and stuff felt very Disneyland-like, but it felt like Disneyland did it better than the Central Business District, even though we were physically in New Orleans. So you're not too far off with that comment, Andrew. I do remember that conversation happening.
Yeah, it came up a few times. And it's funny because I remember at the airport overhearing just some random person saying, like, they were also, I guess, just leaving New Orleans, and they were saying, like, oh my God, it was just like Disneyland. And we're like, wow, we're not the only ones.
Yeah, because some of the guys are giving us a hard time for saying that, but it's good to know it's a common comment.
Just like I'm
Very
sure
nice.
people that go to Disney Seas and go to Long Beach Land will go to our Long Beach and we'll see the Queen Mary and go, oh, it's just like the one in Disneyland.
I'm sorry,
That's
you call it Long
Long
Beach.
Beach
It's
Land?
it's not called Long Beach Land.
That's
right?
what I call it, but it just there's a Queen Mary. It's like old timey Long Beach.
Long Beach. Never mind the LBC.
It's like
LBL.
It looks like it's trying to be a mix of like San Francisco and Long Beach, but a long time
So it's
ago.
what California Adventure started as, kind of like just a tribute to California.
Yeah, but just like a section, because that's just one of the slices of Disney Seas. Hence the Seas
Can you
part.
imagine though, like, guys, we're going to Disneyland. Oh, you're going to Frontierland? No. Tomorrowland? No. Oh, you must be going to Galaxy's Edge? No. We're going to Long Beach Land. Like, there's nothing in Long Beach. What are you doing there?
Yeah, one of the rides is a NASCAR drift race around like a loop in front of the aquarium.
Seriously?
No.
Wow, that's... Oh, I was going to say, that would be very, very Americanized, yeah. And they give you sloppy hamburgers to eat, yeah.
I found the word sloppy.
Yeah. Sloppy? Really?
You
Not
do or
even
do
in
not
Sloppy
like the
Joe?
word sloppy?
Even worse. There's a couple words that I think it's the I don't remember. I didn't go to college. Is it
Semi?
suffix where it's like you bring the Y out? Like
I went to
sloppy
college
is,
and I don't know.
or- I forgot what you
You're
call
making.
it.
I mean, I guess you're making it an adjective. You have slop, which I guess is also
Sloppy
I guess
and
it's
like
more of a
yummy.
noun.
I can't stand those words.
because yum. I mean, what about yum? Just yum.
Well, it seems like they become
Uh,
adjectives at that point, right? Like sloppy is now a descriptor of another word or action.
I think I'm more fine with yum, but I still don't like that word.
Where do you stand on the word moist?
I don't care for it. And by that I mean, I can take it or leave that word. Like that doesn't bother me as much as
A lot
I
of
know
people-
it bothers a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like nails on a chalkboard for a lot of people, and I never quite understood that.
Yeah.
Again, you're doing it.
Yeah.
But that means
It's like how some people just can't eat cilantro because it tastes like soap.
Really?
What?
Oh yeah, Gilbert's one of those. But yeah,
Mm.
I do love how yum to buck ratio sounds.
It is a good phrasing. And
It is.
when we went
you
to
copyrighted it?
Yeah, when we went to Disneyland this most recent time, we created another one, which was the thrill. No, it was like the Q to thrill ratio.
Oh, that's right. How
There's
long
gotta
you're
be
waiting
some
in
sort of
line.
alliteration there. Yeah,
But
like
was
the
it-
wait versus the outcome.
I mean, I wanted that with like a fun to buck, but that made more sense. But yeah, I get it. There's definitely some rides because I mean, some of the rides while really awesome and way too quickly. Like the Cars ride is, I think, one of the best rides in California Adventure.
Oh, for sure.
But I would never wait 2 hours for it. I think if I waited 2 hours
for that one, you know the trick, right?
Yeah, single rider.
Yeah, okay. Pro tip for those listening that don't go to Disneyland regularly: single rider. You still end up usually in the same car or next to each other in racing cars, so it works out.
Why isn't that something that we just do in general? Like,
because we're fools, Kevin. I don't know. It's a really good question.
Wouldn't we typically get on the same, I don't know, the same ride? Maybe like 2 apart?
Yeah, you would always be. You're almost always within the same like little quadrant of cars. When, at least in that ride, when you go through the paint shop, you do your own thing. It goes through a forking path, but then when it comes back together and you race the other car, more often than not, you will be paired still. Yeah.
Yeah, like I can understand if you want to get the front, and that makes it easier to coordinate with like a bunch of people than having to just.
Yeah.
But so weird.
But I don't know. I don't think that ride's too short, to be honest. If you want a short ride, and I think we talked about it when we came back from there, because I think, all three, well, Angel, you weren't there, but Kevin and I talked about it. Tron in Disney World. Pretty fun. 20 seconds long, maybe? 22 seconds? I don't know. It's so short. Maybe a little longer than 20 seconds, but it's like a third the length of Cars or half the length of Cars. So that's a short ride if there ever was one.
The Q-Tip Thrill. That was way worse.
Yeah, the QT, yeah. It was not a cutie. Oh, there it is. It's a cutie if it has a good Q to thrill ratio.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
It literally does that to the word Q that we started this whole thing.
Yep. And it was not a cutie.
The one that sucked the most was, what was that ride? We were in Disney World.
Frozen,
Jesus Christ.
Elsa's Norwegian Adventure, or whatever it was called, yeah.
God, that was so terrible.
Well, I think the ride had a technical issue along the way. But yeah, no, it was, they also overhyped, so we were with some theme park enthusiast friends, for those listening, and they were like, oh, this is like the coolest thing. This ride is so cool. Like, your mind's going to be blown, like, towards the end. It's just wait. They just added it. It's so cool. And I'm like, oh, my God, what's it going to do? You know, I know what it does? You go backwards instead of forwards.
Did they ever not ride the Mummy?
That was it. No, but it was just the way it does it. It has a smoke effect and some other stuff, but I was like, that's it. Like, I thought we were going to, like, do a drop, which sounds weird for a Frozen ride, or, like, something magical would happen, but it was just, like, they kind of have you go backwards down a path you don't expect to go. Like, it's not Mummy where it just reverses. It's, like, it, like, takes you down like a fork in the other direction, but it was just like, okay. So, yeah, that one was not a cutie.
Were the animatronics at least good?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Were you not on it?
He wasn't with us on that trip.
I wasn't there.
It was Elvis. It was you're mixing up your brothers.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You didn't go.
It is possible that not Elvis and I don't always go to the same places.
No, I just could have sworn you were there. It wasn't necessarily because
you're not the only one. I feel like Eric always has to be. No, not Eric. Someone else always has to be reminded. I think it's Victor.
I mean, even when I started talking about Tron, I was like, we were all there, and then I was like, oh wait, no, Kevin and I were there. So even I just flipped.
But yeah, everyone forgets.
Wait, I wasn't for Tron.
No, but what? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You were there, but I originally said all of us were there, and I had to correct myself because Angel wasn't.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So we're all very guilty of that crime.
Well, do we want to talk about New Orleans, or should we just keep that to ourselves?
I mean, it's a cool city. I don't know what I sung karaoke in front of like more than 5 people, which surprised me.
You held a snake.
Not great, might I add. I was very angry.
Oh, you were like, you kept just like, I think you're trying to use your diaphragm. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm
you
not
just
a professional
did not
singer.
use it.
I'm not used to that, so I don't know. I'm the fact
It's
I even know what the word
something you
is.
just have to train and use like a muscle, so you can't feel too bad if you can't do it right away.
I did feel like in the back part of the song, I was starting to get slightly more into it, and I had like kind of a buzz after it. So like, I did it, but yeah, I did better with the song than I did with the Mechanical Bull, where I fell off in like 2 seconds flat twice.
Ooh, I was not there for that.
Oh yeah, they put me on a Mechanical Bull, and then the bowl took me off the bowl very quickly.
Yeah, no, I believe it.
Yep. There's video.
But I mean, yeah, we all went to New Orleans for Jason's bachelor party. I think we all had a really, really good time.
Yeah, it was great, and I appreciate that you guys and everyone else, not that they're listening to this, but you guys at least made the trek. Like, it was very nice. There's a big group of us. There's a group of like 10 of us. 11, yeah, like 10 of us.
Yep. No, it was 11.
Right, because my high school friend. So there's a group of 11 of us. 10 of us are like a core group that like all our friendships are built around each other's friendships. Essentially, like we have this intertangled group of people, like someone knows someone, so now they're friends with the first person, like all that sort of thing. And it was really cool that actually all of us were able to go and get there and be there at the same time, because it's very hard to coordinate this many people in this stage of our life. So
especially for like a destination.
Yeah, especially like, and like have it be like, a 4-hour flight. It wasn't like we were going to like Big Bear or something that you could drive to.
I guess we'll know who are the real ones when I have my bachelor party in Japan, but we'll see.
Count me in. I'm on record, on a recording that you can cite in the future. Count me in.
Yeah, count me in as well. On that note, Japan, guess who's in Japan? Nintendo's in Japan.
They sure are.
And today, there's a reason why we delayed the podcast for today. It's because we knew that Nintendo was going to say something insane. And Jason's going to take us through that insanity.
You know what's funny about that? There is a reason. Okay, so like, it's been an interesting, for Jason the business nerd, it's been you're right. I felt that there was going to be a shoe that needed to drop.
Financials, never mind. Let's,
No,
you want to talk Chrome?
I'm all right. Don't do this to me. I was all ramped up and amped up. No.
Yeah, I mean, fine, go.
It was going to be about Zelda. But I was going to say, I knew there was a shoe that needed to drop because Nintendo put their financials out. And actually, it didn't need to drop because the report was very rosy. Yes, I am going to sneak it in for a second here. But like, their revenue and profits exceeded analyst expectations for the quarter. Switch sales were up over 2%, 2.4% year over year, which is wild for a system that's 7 years on the market. Mario Kart 8, this one I did the research on. The sales total of Mario Kart 8 is literally within spitting distance of the entire population of Italy. Every Italian could own Mario Kart 8 and it would be an accurate statistic. The Mario movie, they put out some number that like 1.3 times the number of Mario game sales year over year following the movie coming out. Like Mario Wonder apparently sold 4.3 million copies in like 2 weeks or something like that. Like that's some breaking statistics for you guys. That came out in a slide deck like an hour ago that I panic read through to make sure I knew the numbers in case they came up. But what I was getting at is all this stuff happened, but the report felt like quieter. I don't know. Like the legs were there, but they weren't. Like Pikmin 4 did great, best-selling entry in the series after 2 months, which, some games took years to get anywhere near that. But that's like 2.6 million units great when the system had 15 other million sellers at the same time in the same quarter. Like Tears of the Kingdom, it sold nearly 20 million copies in like 4 or 5 months, 19.5 million. But all but 1 million of those were last quarter, the first quarter. It's very front-loaded, which, of course means sales will be slower thereafter. And it selling 2/3 of Breath of the Wild is still crazy because that, it did 2/3 of 6 years of sales in like 3 months. But the point is, the takeaway I had like after combing through the report last night and through that slide deck when I panic read it today, it was lacking some oomph. Like there just wasn't anything that like okay, we'll see if Pikmin does well this holiday, if that momentum continues. We'll see what the holiday bump does in terms of like Zelda picking back up some speed. But like, it didn't have oomph. Like, and oomph is of course a very technical financial term, right? Oomph. But then came the oomph, which Kevin, you were talking about, the Zelda movie. Like that was the thing where it was like, oh, now okay, because like they know Mario's a smash. It boosted the game sales, like I was saying. It helped boost Switch sales year over year. And then you're kind of like, all right, Nintendo, what are you doing with that information? And now we know Nintendo's taking that strategy, taking Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, making Zelda more popular than ever, and just rinse and repeat. And that felt like the explanation point at the end of the financial report sentence that I felt like it was lacking. That felt like okay, here we go. Bigger plan, bigger picture. So yes, they announced Zelda today. They made me sit and wallow for 15 hours about what are all the interesting things in the report, but we got there. And yes, you wanted me to take us through it, Kevin, a little?
You want me to be honest? You want me to be honest with that?
Well, no, don't be honest. Well, actually, you did present. Fine, I'm going to do it anyway. The Tom Holland rumors are there because here's why. This is crazy. Sony is making the movie. Former Super Nintendo CD drive partner turned enemy, Sony is making the movie of Zelda with Nintendo. Granted, it's Sony Pictures, which is a different division, and granted, bygones be bygones and business and all that jazz, and business be business and all that jazz. But Sony is working on one of Nintendo's premier franchises. Nintendo's investing supposedly over 50%. They're co-financing it, so Nintendo's probably still got a final say. But it's Sony making it and distributing it. It's Avi Arad who is producing it. And he has some name. Arad. He has some interesting movies attached to him. We'll start strong. He has the early Spider-Mans. He has.
You mean the first two?
Yep, the early Spider-Mans. He has one of the Spider-Verses. He's the exec producer on. And then he has gems like Venom and an Air Bud movie and Morbius. So. Oh, and the Uncharted movie, which is somewhere in between. So, yeah, that's an interesting person for Miyamoto to be collaborating with on this project. And then it came out that at the same time, they also announced that the director is a guy named Wes Ball, who will start strong again. He's the director of the upcoming Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Trailer came out a couple days ago. Looks like it could be good. The Planet of the Apes movies have a pretty good track record. He also did all 3 Maze Runner movies. And I don't know if I'm saying that as a negative, because I actually kind of like the first one, honestly.
Yeah, I don't necessarily. I think of the young adult adaptations that came out after the Hunger Games. Those were the I mean, the bar is really low for it, but it was still.
They got a little worse. The first one was definitely the best of the 3.
But what matters the most is who's writing the script, and do we know?
Well, we do know that. I forgot his name.
It's Derek Connolly.
Derek, right? But he's done such quality. Actually, I'd about to say something sarcastic. He wrote Detective Pikachu. I mean, so he's already in the Nintendo sphere. He also did.
It's not necessarily like a big negative, but like
it's a thought to ponder. Yes.
Like no. That was like the biggest part of Detective Pikachu. Damn it.
Yeah, he also did Jurassic World.
Which the first one's alright.
Yeah, the first one's not bad. He also did parts of. Oh man, I lost the list. Hold on, let me find it again. What was the dude's name?
Derek Connolly.
Derek. Do you have the list, Kevin? Do you want to pick up here?
No. I will only say that he also wrote, along with, what's his goddamn name? I forgot.
Wes Anderson?
No. Close. J.J. Abrams, Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah, he did. No, actually, he did Rise of Skywalker, but he did it with Colin. What's his name? The original director. So he always contributed.
Who was the director of Jurassic Park, which was okay.
Yeah, and he also did, for what it's worth, all the other Jurassic Worlds, so Fallen Kingdom and Dominion. He did. If you guys remember, in 2016, there's a kid movie called Monster Trucks. That was him.
Nope.
But to end, it was like Monster Trucks. That one. It's like Transformers if they didn't transform.
Wait, are you sure it's not the one where it's an alien that hides inside of a truck and it basically just becomes best friend with this kid because...
Yeah, but it doesn't transform. So again, Transformers that don't transform, they're also aliens, right?
Yeah, that's true. They are aliens. Good point.
But he did one that kind of caught my eye. He did Kong Skull Island, and I enjoyed Skull Island. And I enjoyed Detective Pikachu. The thing I'm a little like, I don't know, is so they're going to make it live action, which, okay, but everyone involved with this project cut their teeth on like contemporarily set movies. There's not a single like fantasy, Lord of the Rings style, Game of Thrones style, like old medieval. There's nothing of that era or that like world in any of their backgrounds. So that's interesting that all of them are going to be experimenting with that genre using Zelda.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
Not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, the thing that I realized when I first heard the news is I read it like when I read it, I'm like, this feels like a Mad Lib. Like, you know, we got this guy that did Spider-Man and this guy that did Maze Runner, and we're doing it with the people that abandoned us to make the PlayStation. It's going to be great. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of random things. It felt very much like the Mario casting when it first came out. Just like, oh, these are names I wouldn't expect associated with this. But Nintendo's heavily involved. Miyamoto's a producer, and that worked out well for the Mario movie. And Nintendo was able to harness what Illumination was good at and then lift up their strengths, Nintendo's own strengths, with their universe of Mario. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt this time. You know, we were very hesitant about Mario. I'm gonna blank slate go into this, see what happens. I think Kingdom of Planet of the Apes will be kind of a nice like temperature check of, you know, is Wes Ball someone that can do a movie that I'll enjoy beyond Maze Runner, which I like the first of the three of. So, you know, if Kingdom comes out really well, then that gives me a lot more faith. If not, we'll just ride it out and see, you know, how Nintendo contributes and what it turns into. But it's definitely an interesting combination of people and companies involved in this project. What do you guys make of it?
Movie might be good, is what it is. I'm not really that entire casting sheet doesn't, or not casting, but like crew sheet doesn't instill a lot of confidence.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing.
I would just say, I guess my initial gut thoughts were and obviously this is I mean, it can only be speculation, but I don't think I'm gonna like it as much as I would have if it was animated or like.
I had that same thought.
I mean, it's kind of like an obvious statement to say, but it's like it feels like it's gonna lose something. I don't know.
You say that not knowing what direction that they would have taken animated, though.
That's true, but Zelda runs the gamut from like Wind Waker to Twilight Princess.
It runs the gamut from the Philips CDI game.
Now we're
I'm talking about Twilight Princess. Oh, actually, that is official. Oh my god! You know what?
Exactly.
I would have still taken that.
You would have taken that.
Yeah, at least it would have been
Link being so hungry he can eat an Octorok.
You know what? I hope he says that in the live action.
I hope that and Excuse Me, Princess get in the movie. Like, it's not going to be a fan service. The thing I'm wondering is that there's no way, live action or not, that this can be quite the same fan service palooza that Mario was, simply because the game's not set up.
Think it's going to be like Dungeons and Dragons or like Lord of the Rings?
I'm wondering,
kind of serious, or somewhere in between.
That honestly was when I was thinking about like what will the live action vibe be. Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves is where I landed in my head. I don't know why, but I landed based on like what I know about these guys' previous work, kind of the tone of most of their movies. Justice Smith being in Detective Pikachu, which was written by this guy. No, that had nothing to do with it. But I did sort of just mentally drift towards a Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves vibe, but maybe not quite as jokey, but close. That's just where I went. Which, I don't know if Zelda is, minus I can eat an Octorok. I don't know how funny Zelda games are. Like, they have their quirks and charm, but like, I don't know.
I think this all depends on the tone that they take with it, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see in 5 years. Probably.
Apparently, it's already been in the works for multiple years.
Damn.
Also, credit where it's due. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh God, it's what's the producer's name again? Avi Arad." Yeah, he's been pursuing Nintendo for a very long time. There were emails that came out in the Sony leak, I believe, where he was extremely close to landing the Mario animated movie, and even was emailing that we got it to like Amy Pascal and people at Sony, only to then not have it. But this guy has been circling Nintendo and trying to get them to do stuff for like basically a decade, if not longer, a documented decade. So, I mean, say what you will about his movies or whatever, but dude's persistence, and the persistence paid off. So, there is that. Like, props to him that he didn't just give up. I don't know if that's going to make a good movie or not, but props to him that he didn't give up.
Well, I mean, the stage is his. I mean, all eyes are on him right now, so.
Him and Miyamoto. Yep. Tag team. I think ultimately it boils down to, like, I tweeted something to this effect, but in Miyamoto I trust at this point. Like, I had my doubts about the Mario movie. It was his baby. Mario's his baby. He made it work. I really enjoyed it. So if he can have that same care given to Zelda, and it lines up with what his vision is of what the franchise should have always been, I'm sure it's going to turn out at least okay. So, yeah. But man, get ready for the casting. Get ready for the casting, though. If you thought like Chris Pratt getting cast caused a huge kerfuffle, just wait until silent protagonist Link suddenly has a personality. That's gonna be something. But yeah,
I mean, Link does have a personality. It just depends on the game.
Yeah, true, but more of a spoken word, full sentence.
Which is why I say we have to wait for whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
He could easily be a silent protagonist.
That would be interesting if they framed.
Yeah, that would be. How many movies can you think of? With a silent protagonist?
WALL-E, sorta.
No, definitely not. He says
I feel like WALL-E makes the same amount of noise. Well, yeah, but that's the same amount of noise as Link going, yeah, huh, and stuff like that. Like, you know.
Yeah, but he doesn't really use that to communicate anything outside of, like, exertions. WALL-E was trying to talk.
What if it's yeah, it's like, yeah, and he's sad.
Well, that's still, I wouldn't count. Fine, can you think of another one that isn't, like, stretching? That's like, oh, yeah. Which one?
I was gonna say Bumblebee.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes and no. I mean, I guess he talks to the radio, but
Link can talk through his actions.
I mean, he literally says nothing. Like, Link literally says nothing. I mean, it'd be like...
No, he says, and I quote, yeah! I mean, I just keep saying that all night.
It'd be like, I mean, I believe you played Half-Life 1 or 2?
Mm-mm.
I played Half-Life 1.
Well, I wonder if it'll be those kind of vibes. Because that one, they do acknowledge that you're, like, silent the whole time, and they're like, oh, man, a few words. But, you know, the plot keeps going somehow without him ever saying anything, Mr. Gordon Freeman. But I guess we'll see.
Time will tell. But it's definitely wasn't... Like I said, I felt the shoe was going to drop. I would never have guessed it would have been a Zelda live-action movie after so many years of fans wanting it. Like, obviously that would happen eventually, but I didn't think that was going to be today. Like, that was kind of out of left field today. But it makes sense. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Intriguing, if nothing else, I think is where my head's at.
Yeah. Intriguing. We're still on the Nintendo train, so moving on from that, do you guys have Mario Wonder still on the docket?
That's true, we do. Angel, you've been playing with Elvis, right? Like co-op?
Yeah, we played a decent amount. I think did we officially start it on the airplane? No, I think we played it like once maybe before the trip to New Orleans, and then a decent amount in the plane, and then also a decent amount right after. But I mean, it's been fun so far. It's like, well, yeah, overall it's been fun. Obviously, these are all still impressions. I think we're only towards the end of the second world. You know, we've been doing the usual try to 100% of your level, you know, find out the secret coins, find out the hidden exits, that kind of stuff. Some are trickier than others, some are so obvious, some are so like, oh, really? We have to replay the level just because of that? But I'll let Jason talk first because I'm sure he's going to elaborate.
I have thoughts
on some things that I'm just going to brush over.
To your point about the secret, there is something like I don't have a lot of thoughts about the wonder effects, to be honest. I think the thing about the wonder effects, they're scripted events, right? Like ultimately they're scripted events. So yeah, I even noticed when I was playing that if you want to get like the real exit or the not real exit or get a certain coin, sometimes you just have to like skip the wonder effect or do the wonder effect or, you know, like it's very like kind of forced replayability, if that makes sense, in a way that some of the other Mario games haven't been. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I would say like, yeah, like there are some levels where you obviously need to like tap the Wonder Flower in order to complete it, but the ones that don't, there was a level early on that I guess in total has 3 Wonder Seeds that you have to collect. Those are like the equivalent of like I guess we'll just call them stars in like Mario and 3D Mario games, because there are like 3, I guess, objectives. And when we beat that level, we had it was split into 3 slots. So we had the first Wonder Seed and the last Wonder Seed.
I know the level you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, and typically these levels like always stick their seeds, in that order. And it's always
Whoa.
accurate with the coins. Uh, and, and yeah, like, we usually use it like, oh, if we miss a coin, or we missed the middle one, so it's somewhere in the middle of the level, so on. So this level, we replayed it like a good number of times, going like, where the heck is this Wonder Seed? Like, wow, Nintendo must have like really hid this thing so well. Like, they're really upping their design and like, or hiding things. And we even found like nothing special or interesting, but we found like a bunch of hidden blocks, or we were even like playing with some like people online, and we were seeing them also like kind of struggle to find whatever it was we were looking for. And then eventually, we had just a Wonder Flower during that time, but we didn't pass the flagpole. And then we just kind of kept backtracking, and then eventually we're like, well, all right, we'll just do it later so much. And then we just like beat the level, and sure enough, we get the Wonder Seed, and we're like, what the heck? So I literally just have to play the game without the fun and wacky effect.
Yeah,
and
that felt a little like, because obviously in 2D Marios in general, like if you get the secret exit, then you need to get the regular exit. You can't do both exits at once, but they were exits. They weren't like just objects to collect. It's like doing a red coin challenge or a purple coin challenge, depending on which Mario. And there's like surprise, one of the coins only is if you don't do the other ones. It's like, wait, what? So yeah, that threw me in a loop too.
What makes it weird too is that there's another level very early on. Like, I didn't notice it right away, but like the first world, we completed everything, so we thought like everything had all 3 purple coins, everything had all 3 or 2 seeds, however many they needed. Every level we touched the top of the flagpole, perfect roll call. Except I noticed one level didn't have a green stamp on it, because I barely noticed the stamps to begin with, and I'm like, what the heck does that stamp mean? And we looked through the other levels, and all the other levels had the stamp, and it turns out that just means there's a secret exit somewhere. So I was like,
oh, that's okay, what that means? Oh, I learned something today.
Yeah, so now I was like, okay, so now I have to backtrack through this level, and I haven't found it yet, but there have been a couple times where, and these are my least favorite types, and every Mario game, at least early ones, a lot of 2D Mario games do this, where sometimes they have a hidden detail, which is when I appreciate it, where it's like, oh, okay, if you notice this, you can fall down this pit and you won't die. It's like an actual like secret area. But every once in a while, they'll do that with a pit with no kind of like indication that
no visual cue.
So it's like, okay, so now I'm just supposed to like jump into every pit. Like, that kind of sucks. I hate.
But see, if you play online, you can have the ghost players revive you when you die. So it's kind
of I mean, so it's not.
Oh
yeah, I mean, since I'm playing co-op like with my brother, like we pretty much have that.
Oh yeah.
And on top of that, like, actually, that's pretty much the worst thing I could say. I mean.
How do you like, by the way,
you're doing some of the wonder effects? Well, I was going to say, like, like some of the wonder effects, like, we thought, like, were really cool. Others were like, oh, this literally is just, this could have just been a normal Mario level. It's just, I guess, just now to be triggered with a wonder flower. So, it's like, arbitrarily had to be a wonder flower because that's what the game is based around. But not to take credit away from some of the levels that do actually have moments where it's like, oh, okay, I can't say I expected that. But then there are others that are just like, this is literally just triggered all the platforms to start moving, like in a conveyor belt, like they would in another 2D Mario game.
Yeah, I do think the fact that they were trying to come up with a unique Wonder Flower experience per level did require them to kind of not gatekeep, not like pay, like flower wall certain experiences that would normally be a normal Mario experience. Like they're kind of behind it. But I do think overall, yeah, the Wonder Flower, I think it adds more than it takes away. Like there is this element of expect the unexpected that they've been using in the marketing that, yeah, it's true. Like the second level, they do that Piranha Plant Parade thing where they sing a song, and like that was fun. I definitely wouldn't have guessed they would do that. And honestly, it made me want like Nintendo World should open like an old school style Disneyland dark ride where you're just like going through the little world and the piranha plants are singing to you. Like it felt like it's a small world, but like the Nintendo version. It's like little things like that. It's like I would not have expected that in this game, and it was fun. Or like some of the Stampede stuff they do. But I did want to ask you, co-op. There's a big change. No more bonking into each other. Does that actually, have you noticed that?
Yeah, no like more interacting.
Anything?
Well, yeah, it changes everything. Like
it
makes it. Unfortunately, it makes it less fun to play co-op. I mean, it's still fun. I mean, the game is still fun, obviously. It's like, I mean, all of a sudden I love Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and Donkey Kong Country Returns. And because kind of have similar co-op in the sense that you don't interact much with your buddy, so you're basically just playing single player simultaneously. The only part where you do interact with each other is the fact that if you jump on, let's say you have to cross a big gap, and the only thing in that gap is a Koopa, like a parrot Koopa. You jump on, or a paratroopa. You jump on them. Whoever jumps on it first, is going to get rid of that platform. So unless you jump on it simultaneously, one of you is basically going to die. And there are some segments of levels where you could tell, like, yeah, this part was designed for just one person. The other person is just falling behind half the time, or like they just don't have like the real estate. And there have been a couple of times where that did happen, but sometimes like, oh, my brother and I are in lockstep, and that part doesn't matter. But yeah, for the most part, that has been. I mean, there's less interactivity than there is with Donkey Kong Country, because at least in that one, DK could, Diddy could jump on DK or Dixie or Cranky for that matter.
Right.
But for the most part, But for the most part, you're just hoping the other person survives and you can revive each other. But that being said, we have found ways to leverage the co-op in only one way, really. Outside of like, oh, I didn't make it, so hopefully you beat the level. Before, it was super fun to basically bounce off each other or use each other as like pseudo platforms just so that we can, reach other areas like, oh, we didn't have the right item for this, but we can still make it up there because we have each other to work off of. There have been a couple times where we'll accidentally kill an enemy when we're supposed to kill, or not have an item we were supposed to have. So Wonder Flower is like out of reach, or some other item that we need. And you can't jump on each other, so we found that, well, if one of us kills themselves and then goes their way to the other player, and the player times a really high jump, and they, and then the ghost touches them at the highest point, the person that was the ghost would jump even higher because they always jump out of being a ghost, which we've used to, reach higher platforms or get other items.
It's like you're making the bubble come back in a way.
Yeah, so it's pretty much that. And you only get like 5 seconds, so, it makes it a little tricky. There have been a couple, like, it's almost become like mini puzzles sometimes. But, yeah, that part has been interesting to say the least. But and also, like, some levels are fun, some levels are easy, some levels are... I don't think we've experienced a level that's been, like, really, really hard. I think, from what little videos I've seen, a lot of people on the internet, or at least right now, think that the hardest level is a specific rhythm one that you unlock pretty early on.
Yeah, I know that. I've tried it.
Yeah, so there's 2 rhythm ones. There's like the first one you unlock, and then there's like the second one you unlock in like the equivalent to Star World. And that one is a tough level, but we got through it. But now everyone's like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be the hardest level in Mario Wonder, and I'm like, really? Like, I hope not. I hope that's not the case. Because usually there's always like a much harder level. But we'll see. Obviously, we'll see.
Right.
I forgot what else I was going to say. There was one more thing. But, that's right. Something that we are doing, though, outside, this game has badges. Equip them. You get, like, you're constantly bouncing. You get to run on in the air. Or you get, like, super boosts. Or...
you can become Luigi. You can become a dolphin. You
get interesting mechanics that some of them feel like, oh, this should just be in Mario's toolkit by default. If anything, it made me miss how versatile Mario was in Mario. I think it's one of the New Super Mario Bros. Games where he basically had the Mario 64 kit, but in 3D. Like, you could do like the run, slide, backwards jump, and jump higher, or the backflip.
I think it was Wii that had that one. Yeah, I think it was in Mario Wii.
But point is, like, 2D Mario is 2D Mario. It's fine. But you have these badges that spice things up. But outside of the levels where we're forced to use them because the levels are designed around those, thank God normal levels don't force you to use them. Because we were hoping that we could just play the whole game without ever equipping a badge, which is what we have been doing. And
you're missing out on some fun. I'm gonna be honest. It's kind of fun to mess with the badges.
Well, I mean, like I said, like there's like a level that basically makes you use every badge.
No. But I mean, it's fun to like kind of manipulate your way through regular levels with them because it can change the experience somewhat notably. Yeah,
it can. But I mean, we tried it like I think once by accident because it's really easy to equip the badge and the game like it's always trying to force them on you. Like, do you want to equip it now? Do you want to equip it now? Even like in the loading screen, you can equip them.
Yeah,
And we had some by accident, and like we just put to the level, and it just makes it too easy. Like it just in that for us the way we play the game,
well,
it takes
you
the
need to
fun.
get the invisible badge, and then you can't see your character, and then try playing.
Oh, see, there you go. But yeah, like some and that takes kind of the fun out of it. Like we like to keep it in that base level.
Keep it pure.
Yeah, keep it pure. And then after we'll mess with stuff, but keep it pure.
That's fair. You do a run through and then you go back into our play around the playground. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I will say, this happens whenever there's a major game that I think we're enjoying. Is like we get nitpicky. We start nitpicky. We're like, oh, well, we have this little complaint about this little itty bitty function or this little thing. But to zoom it out a bit, I've been trying to think of the best way to verbalize what I find overall so cool about Mario Wonder. Like obviously we talked about the Wonder Flower stuff, and that's fun and does keep you on your toes because you never quite know what's going to happen. Even if it's not the most outlandish thing, you're always like, oh, what will happen when I hit this? And it could be any number of things. So, that's been fun. But I think what actually makes the game like stand out for me isn't necessarily the Wonder Flower, but kind of like the underlying approach I feel like Nintendo took with the game. Like if you, to your point about like you like core basic Mario, like if you think about like the Mario franchise is almost like different like play sets for the developers. It feels like with New Super Mario Brothers, we had like 13 years of a series where they were using one play set in which the building blocks were based around like the original vision of what Super Mario Brothers was. Like, the classic platforming, classic enemies, maybe a world map that opens up a little bit with each game. But at the end of the day, you could argue that the new series was staying true to the core basic baseline Mario, throwing back to that and kind of never really deviated from that in any notable ways. Like they gave him a couple extra moves, they moved the map a little, but it was basically like core Mario. And what's been interesting about Mario Wonder is as I've been playing it, it's kind of felt like to me, like the playset they chose, the building blocks for the whole experience was what Mario games, like what the Super Mario series kind of became. Not what Nintendo initially envisioned it as. Like we can all be nostalgic for Mario's core gameplay, but such big parts of the Mario experience for so many people, I feel like, are how, we shared or discovered secrets, or how we would all find and exploit weird bugs, or like some people would speedrun or do things beyond what like the developers originally envisioned or intended the engine to allow you to do. And what's cool for me is so much of that, like that sort of fan-driven like culture, I guess you could say, has sprung up around the core Mario game. That's what feels like got like the new Super Mario Brothers treatment this time around. Like Nintendo took those ideas, they baked them in, they modernized them, and they made, I think, some pretty cool mechanics out of them. Like you're talking about the online system, right? Like the most obvious example for me is the online system because, you have these players ghost running around. You can drop standees for other people. And we had like some variation of other people being able to share with you stuff about levels and like New Super Mario Brothers U. Like they had the whole Miiverse thing where you could leave a little message. But I don't know, like the way you see other people running around just took me back to like watching friends play the game and trying to figure out like what exactly they're doing. Like, oh, why is he going that way? Only like, oh, whoa, what is that secret he found? Like, voila, they reveal this crazy thing with it. You see someone go in a pit and they don't die, and you're like, oh, I should try that next time I play. But it's like happening in tandem with you playing in real time. So that's kind of cool. And then like the standee thing too, it feels like the online like reinvention or modernization of a friend or a classmate or someone on the playground when you're a kid telling you, oh, there's this thing that you have to try the next time you play Mario. Like they don't know quite exactly how to describe it to you. Like, you go this level, somewhere in the middle, there's a thing. You still have to kind of figure it out yourself, but you have this approximation. Back then it was verbal, now it's visual with the standee that like, here's something in this spot that you should probably try and figure out. And the fact that Nintendo took, which, people watching other people play, people giving each other hints, like maybe Nintendo always intended for kids to swap Mario secrets. I don't know. But like the game back in the day was a single player game. It was built a single player. There's no direct way to do this. Like it kind of sprung up among players themselves to like start swapping notes and whatnot. It's like, it's how we consumed the game essentially. And it's like a whole little culture built up around that. And it's cool that it's like such a key part of Wonder should you choose to turn it on.
I
initially did not turn it on. Well, yeah, it was basically Miiverse on steroids. Yeah, like Miiverse was like the first dabble, but this feels like the full realization of like integrating it, like they're like I don't know how it's like they're reclaiming this as now like a core, albeit optional, part of a Mario experience in a way that it used to just be the fans that did it. So that's one thing I thought was cool. I also think the same was true with holds true with like the new badge system. I know you were mentioning you kind of disregarded, and I was trying to poke you about that, but there's such like a subculture in gaming, obviously, around like manipulating games in ways developers don't expect. I mean, look at all the Breath of the Wild videos, look at the Tears of the Kingdom crazy build videos, but going all the way back to like 1980s Mario, I mean, you had more casual players learning stuff like the infinite one-up glitch. You had hardcore people going for high scores that then eventually evolved into speed runs and finding all sorts of ways to kind of leverage and manipulate the game to do that. Like, it's kind of part of Mario. It kind of always has been, like finding all the little secrets in the levels, even ones developers didn't intend for you to find. And I feel like the Mario Maker games were kind of Nintendo's first attempt at like dabbling in letting you toy with this stuff in a kind of like quote-unquote legitimate way. But Wonder is really the one where they integrate it like seamlessly into the core Mario experience because of the badges. Like, even if you're choosing, if it makes it too easy or it does whatever, like, well, there's ones that give you abilities like that you wouldn't otherwise have, or just those odd ones like turning invisible and now having it be a level invisible. Like, it just feels, I don't know, it feels like Mario's now integrated that kind of subculture of like how people would play the game outside of what it was originally designed as. And obviously, they distilled the concept down to be a lot more digestible for kind of a mass audience with badges opposed to like who knows what. But the way we have not just the badges, but there's challenges per badge, like you pointed out, Angel, and they ramp up in difficulty each of these challenges, and there's this idea you may go a level that's best suited for no badge or a particular badge. They won't require you to use a badge, but they want to say, hey, try these other badges, like how I was encouraging you to experiment after, or how you're saying you might experiment after, like weird ways to beat level. It really just feels like the whole like glitch, exploit, speed run, like beat the devs at their own game spirit, that kind of fan culture created around Mario games, but now it's like part of the Mario game, Like, so it was just cool to see Nintendo sort of bring these into the fold in a way. And yeah, I think to be fair, actually, this idea of reviving what Mario like became as a driving concept of what seems like a lot of Wonder's design decisions were, I would argue it extends to the developers' own work too. Not just like what fans did they brought in, but like what they saw developers do in the past. 'Cause, like, the way Wonder internalizes these ideas of sharing secrets or sort of manipulating the basic game, that's player-driven nostalgia. But as I was playing it, I just felt like the developers also were on this big nostalgia, like, send-up or homage to what the games evolved to after the initial Marios. Like, the scope, the weirdness, like, the vibe of Wonder for me is very, very, very much early 90s Mario. Namely Mario World, which is my all-time favorite, but also Mario Land 2. Like, the world maps feel very similar. Right down to the themed worlds not just being generic desert or ice, but like some sort of riff on that. Like, the ice world's also like a cloud world. There's even a forest. I can't remember another 2D Mario that had a forest theme for a world outside Mario World. Like, there just feels like all these little things that just like kind of tie back specifically to early 90s Mario. And I feel like that's the devs playing with it. I mean, if you go deeper, all the different enemies they introduced, there's a good one. What?
No, I was gonna say, like, hey, Kevin, should I tell him that there was a forest theme in Mario Wii U and Mario Wii?
Was there? Am I forgetting this? I beat Mario Wii U. I think I'd remember that.
Shh, don't. Let him live in his own little world.
For sure,
let me live in my bubble.
It was a poison forest.
You're right, there was. Well, scratch that part. It still reminded me of Mario World, though. But also, I was gonna say, like, enemies too, like all the different enemies. That feels real. This you can't argue with. I feel like that feels very Mario World. Like, most of the new Super Mario games stay true to pretty much the core.
Okay, I'll give you the 2D Mario games for sure. But
yeah, I mean 2D. I strictly mean 2D. I'm only comparing to 2D. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, I think all the ones in the new, I think, barely introduce anything new, but I think outside of those, there's definitely something like even Mario Brothers 3 and World, between those, like, have a bunch of new enemies, but
yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like, since then we haven't seen it. Like, like Skedaddlers basically are those those blue dinosaurs that you have to hit 3 times in Mario World, except now they're running away from you instead. But like the silhouette of them looks very similar. Or the one that really struck me is when you first discover, when you're playing Mario Wonder, that some enemies can push pipes, and you discover warp pipes are pushable. like something about that just triggered some nostalgia in my head to early in Super Mario World when they first launched that full screen Bonsai Bill at you, and you're just like, whoa, like that's a thing now. Like you could push, and this was like you could push now. That one's if they could get that big. Like I don't know, like the parallels are there, and I just love it because World's my all-time favorite game, and I think it's that like that sheer variety of new enemies, the unexpected behaviors, the world itself. It just contrasts. It just feels like there's a sameness in all the entries to the new series. Even if they did go kind of wild, and I use wild in air quotes by doing like, a Starry Night background in one game or whatever. Like, not a knock against the new series. The purpose of that series was to one-to-one modernize the core old school original Mario, 2D Mario. And it did so repeatedly, and it was fun. But I feel like Mario Wonder is just embracing things beyond that, like the fan stuff I was saying, the games going beyond developers' own expectation and doing stuff that's weird. Just, I don't know, the fact that developers are toying with expectations. That reminds me of Mario. Like it all makes. It's just been a really fun game that's hitting like a whole different angle of nostalgia for me that I honestly did not expect it to hit. I thought the online thing would be silly, and I turned it off. I love it. Like that was probably the biggest surprise to me with the game. Why I think it's so cool about it is just like it. I have so much nostalgia for Mario and know it through the lens of nostalgia from New Super Mario Brothers. So to have now this other angle of nostalgia is really cool. Yeah. So that's my spiel. I can't believe I forgot about the forest levels elsewhere, especially because I did beat Mario Wii. So I have no excuse. But that's my spiel. Thanks for tuning in.
I think the only thing I was going to add was just I didn't expect how much I would like all the new animations. We knew they knew they looked good. We knew all the characters.
Oh, yeah.
Had a new nice coat of paint, but something about just seeing like the pseudo, I guess like 2D, 3D look that they kind of evoke. But, it's just like, dang. Like, I never really had a problem with the way Mario ever moved around. It was just the definition of functional. But, like I said, like, it was just, I never had a problem with that. But now that we have this, it's like, whoa, like, it's cool. It really changes things. Like I just like watching him run or just watching him jump. Sometimes like my brother would just crouch jump, just so that we could like watch him move and like split his arms and legs out and stuff like stuff that we definitely wouldn't do in another Mario game just to see them move or pick other characters. We actually played as Yoshi and Nabbit a couple of times just because they were just fun to use. We almost didn't mind that they're basically invincible, but. Right. Usually running into enemies isn't what kills us. It's like we'd be falling into pits, so it kind of worked out anyway. We just got to play as a Yoshi. So I will say neither of us liked the choice they made where Yoshi will bite his upper lip when he has something in his mouth. To us, it just looked unappealing. But
yeah,
otherwise, like I wish they just like puffed up his cheeks. It's like, oh, you picked like the ugliest way you could have made Yoshi look, but. That's probably the only complaint I had about that.
I'm also not. I'm not the biggest fan that they did to make Yoshi like the easy character because like he has such a fun moveset and like you could argue that if you play it as Yoshi, you basically have a new Yoshi platformer. Like you have a new Yoshi's Island or a new Yoshi store. Like he has all those moves. But you can't essentially
up or an angle. It's really annoying. But yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. See, I didn't know that. But also you can't like get hurt, which is the other weird thing. So, but yeah. But yes, you're right. I think the animation's a really nice touch. I really like. It's not always the same animation too. Like when he goes into a warp pipe, there's like one of like 4 or 5 different canned animations that will play. So it has so much personality because of that.
Good old Mario Wonder.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. I have been playing Mario Superstars at the same time, but we're still so early in that one that I'll save impressions for some other time. But
Mario Superstars or Sonic Superstars?
Sonic Superstars.
I like how we both, Kevin, went opposite directions, but both of our guesses could have been equally plausible. I went Mario All-Stars, you went Sonic Superstars.
But yeah, we've been playing that one simultaneously, and it's also very fun, but very different. Very different. Well, feel-wise, of course. But
yeah, one's good and one is Sonic, so.
Shots fired.
I'm kidding. Kind of. No, I'm joking.
Half kidding.
Any diddle.
Well, one's a Mario game, one's a Sonic game. I'll just leave it at that.
It's crazy they came out the same week. Like, what are the odds?
Do we have the sales numbers on the Sonic one?
Not yet, no.
I'm the ultimate Sonic hater. Let's just put this out there. Sonic Sonic hasn't been good since Adventure 2 Battle, okay?
Angel, care to comment?
I would disagree, but at the same time, I will acknowledge like very well that it really depends because like even 3D Sonics, like I don't think there's been a 3D Sonic game quite like Adventure 2 that hits like that kind of like I want a game like that one, but I can't say that I didn't like some of the newer 3D Sonic games as well for their own reasons. Like I really liked like I really enjoyed Sonic Colors. I really especially because I didn't like to play as all the characters in Sonic Adventure 2. Like I really just enjoyed the Sonic and Shadow levels. Like the Knuckles levels and the Tails levels and the Eggman levels.
But what
Like
about the
those
rap when Knuckles doing his level? That
like
rap.
I can like take them or leave it. Like I really just wanted more like a whole game of just Sonic and Shadow. And then, we got like Sonic Unleashed, which gave me like, oh, a new take on like modern Sonic, and I thought those were like amazing. But then you have the werewolf levels, which play werehog levels, which play like a like Crash Bandicoot if he had arms made of taffy. But yeah, so it almost like became another Sonic Adventure 2 syndrome where like I really love part of the game and the other part I gotta get or leave it. So you could say I like Sonic Adventure as much as Sonic 2, but only for gameplay wise. Music and other stuff, damn. But I also really, really love the Sonic Rush games. Damn. I think I almost love just everything about those. I don't think I have anything bad to say about them. So, Sonic had
What's Sonic Rush?
like Sonic Rush. I think there were DS games, but it's basically
Yep.
the gameplay of Sonic Unleashed, where you have the boost mechanic, but in 2D. So it's like
and spanning both screens, so you keep going up and down between the screens. They're very vertical.
Yeah, it's like that one, like just oozing creativity, but also suffers from
And it gave us
being a
Blaze
DS
the
game
Cat.
where they tried to do like
Oh,
3D.
now I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the new Super Mario Brothers of Sonic, except more new than old new.
It's the Mario Wonder in a way. Like it's doing more new stuff than old stuff.
Yeah, and from what I've seen of Elvis playing Sonic Forces, like, dang, that game looks really, really cool. Especially some of those bosses and just some of the, like, I guess the cyber levels. Like, man, I could see that one. Yeah, I don't know. It does a lot right. And it also has a ton of fan service. So you can literally play, the songs for Sonic Adventure 2 while you're in the open world, just like running around doing stuff. I was going to say running around the speed of sound. I should have just said that. But
You should have said that. Come on.
yeah, I should have just said that. But yeah, but they're also just very different types of games. Like I can't really see someone that I could see how someone could really love how Mario controls and just hate how Sonic controls in 2D. Because Sonic is very momentum based and he is very heavy and very like if you jump in one direction, you're almost definitely not gonna kind of pivot back halfway in the air. It's a lot more committal based.
It's pinball. It's pinball as a platformer, ultimately.
Yeah, and some people may like it or hate it. It really, and also just the way the levels are designed. Like you may like the sort of exploration-y, sort of can run around fast, but I feel like if you're trying to play it just like, oh, I just want to run fast, you're gonna keep getting roadblocked and you're gonna get frustrated. But it's definitely an acquired taste for sure. I think it's perfect.
I really liked crap. What was that one on the DS?
Rush?
Not Sonic Rush?
Nope.
Rush 2?
Nope.
Sonic
Rush
Colors.
3?
Colors.
Oh, Colors.
Oh, yeah.
Sonic Colors on
Sonic-
DS was great.
You're right. That was kind of like Rush and had a lot of similar mechanics, but you also had the wisps. Actually, it could be debated that was a better game than the Wii one. The Wii one has some really good levels, but the other third,
Weird... Yeah.
yeah, the 2D only levels didn't translate as well as the 3D ones. The 3D ones were great, but the 2D ones, dang.
I'm going to say
music,
something maybe. I'm going to say something maybe controversial. I feel like part of the reason that Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is so well received and everyone cites it is not because of the game, but just because of where everyone was in their lives at that time of a certain age group, and it was just the perfect game at the perfect time. And if you were to experience it 5 years later, you would not appreciate it the same way. If you experienced it 5 years sooner, maybe you would appreciate it the same way, but I feel like it's really like a lightning in the bottle.
I mean, it could be true.
For the exact reason you said, that only some of it's actually good. I think a lot of people overlook the other because at the time there's a baseline.
But that's how I felt when it was out, though.
Which is fair. Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
And I still, love it. I mean, I still...
And now, watch this, Angel. Now you understand why I love Star Fox 64.
I mean, I play it once in a while, if anything. No, that's
and I play
very
Star Fox
different.
That's
very different.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Exactly
100% different.
I would argue the game. I would argue Star Fox 64 holds up well still, but I admit
that's the whole point of my argument that it doesn't. That if anything,
but I admit
every time I play it, it killed a little bit of my
glasses.
soul every time. And that's also a lie because I've yet to replay. That's the whole point of a weekend I'm trying to set up where I play through Star Fox 64 and give it an objective look-see.
I don't think you can, honestly.
Well, objective as I possibly can. I mean, that's the best I could do. Can I? I can't exactly go back in time. But I just need to show you that, like, I have to hold it. I have to wait until we play it. I reserve. Okay. I plead the fifth.
I'm just saying. If Sonic Adventure 2 Battle came out 5 years after it did, I don't think it'd be as revered as it is. That's all. Okay. Chow Garden, on the other hand,
Chow Garden,
2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Yep.
Surprised that they've never made that its own game.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm shocked, especially
that would
given
do
like
so
cozy
well the mobile
games
market.
Yeah.
Like
just
literally,
I would lose so much money. Never mind.
Oh my god, dude, the cosmetics and stuff, and then they could literally tie it with Force. I mean, with is it Force? Frontier. They wanted like throw some connectivity in there. Beat some levels,
they could do that'd be super
currency.
Fun. They could do what the
race with other people online. They're like, like how you're doing in the baby chow meta. But,
the baby chow meta. There's a third-party app that was Apollo for Reddit. They got rid of it. They let you have a little cat that would live in the dynamic island of your iPhone, even when you weren't using the app, I think. And you could like feed it, have the chow live in your dynamic island. You could always have it there. Always check it out. Keep an eye on it. Just saying. The game writes it. The game builds itself, Sega. Make it happen.
Moving over to something much, much, much darker in tone and objectively of a much worse quality. I saw X.
Is it X or is it 10?
It's 10, but you know what? Hold on, I gotta watch the trailer that. With the guy
Wait, would you
voice.
say? So would you say, since we're doing the bad joke thing, you would say you saw X and it sucks because you said it was worse quality? That's supposed to be sucks, but
I said it was worse quality.
sucks.
I didn't say it sucked.
Oh wait, so the
I
Q was intentional? I thought that's why it was written.
I just wanted the pun.
I thought this
it
was
could
like
be a perfectly fine movie. I
thought that was an A.
No, that's a Q. I thought I had no idea you were going to talk about Saw X. I thought this was like, what does SQWX stand for? Or I thought it was like a. I thought it was a movie where it's like a crossover with whatever SQW is and that other word that I don't know.
Or like some sort of weird like
I was doing it on my phone and I
screw up.
I was doing it on my phone and I saw Jason updating something. Oh, he put like Zelda movie announced.
Yep.
And out of not necessarily out of spite, but I just wrote Saw X with an expletive right after because Jason was there and you know how
well, to be clear, you didn't just say Saw X. You also threw an insult at me. No,
yeah, that's what I said. I just said. I put an expletive.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Sorry. Yeah, didn't catch that. Sorry.
No worries. But yeah, Saw X or Saw 10, the 10th installment, Jesus, in the Saw franchise. Have you guys ever seen the Saw movie?
I have not. I don't like
pretty
horror
sure
that much.
I've only seen the first two.
The first two? Okay.
The second one is the one where they fall in like in a pool of needles?
There's a pit of needles and I guess content warning for Saw. I'm going to be talking about gore and gore. But
it's literally
so much gore
porn,
it gets
right?
2 call-outs.
Speaking of gore, I need to remember to watch Invincible. I think they just started again. But anyway.
Yeah, I am a huge fan of the Saw franchise, believe it or not.
Huh.
This doesn't surprise me in a way, to be honest.
No,
I don't know what that says about you at all. It just doesn't surprise me in a way.
Yeah, these movies are objectively terrible. I would say maybe the first one was the closest to coming to a decent thriller. But these movies are all bad. They're and I'm sorry to the directors and writers. These movies are all written terribly. They're all directed terribly. But there's just something about how charmingly crap they are that I just can't get enough of. Saw 1s through Saw 7 specifically because those first 7 movies are absolutely like connected. There's stuff that there are, I don't want to say mechanics, well, there are plot points that are brought up in Saw 4 that we have no idea what that we don't know where that point is going until like Saw 6 when we find out, that's what that was back 2 movies ago.
Would you say they fit together like a jigsaw puzzle?
Oh,
come on!
I don't know. I don't know why they came out more sexual than I wanted to.
That was just your visceral reaction to such a quality joke.
Anyways, so the first 7 are all part of the same, I guess, series. While Saw's 8, which was called Jigsaw, and that one, while it took place way after, and it was released way after the first 7 movies, but it was still connected, like just barely by a thread. Spiral, which was essentially Saw 9, was the Chris Rock one. I don't know if you guys ever saw that.
I forgot
he was in the Saw movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the Saw movie, and not gonna say it wasn't good, but that series has seen better. But finally, after I think Jigsaw came out 2021, right, coming out of the pandemic. And then they finally decided to release this movie, Saw X, which takes place in between the first 2 movies, so arguably, chronologically, takes place between the 2 best movies, and sure enough, this is probably the best Saw movie since the original, which is maybe not saying much, but I really liked it. It's saying something. So the premise of this one is, we got Jigsaw, obviously the Jigsaw killer. He is, and spoiler alert for the Saw series. The Jigsaw killer is basically looking for a way to, I was gonna say get rid of his brain cancer, but he's got brain cancer, and essentially he finds these people who have some sort of miracle surgery, plus like they keep saying this amazing cocktail of drugs that once they perform surgery on him, he's going to be cancer free. And the reason that they have to do it like so shadily is because obviously they don't want the medical world to know that there's a cure for cancer out there. So John Kramer, the Jigsaw killer, goes down to Mexico, and yes, there is the Mexico filter on there. The movie gets noticeably yellower when he's in Mexico. He goes over there, he gets the surgery done. Plot twist, and this was in the trailer, so don't yell at me. Apparently, they absolutely did nothing. They didn't cure his cancer. And so what is Jigsaw known to do, Jason?
Go get someone's brain or murder all the doctors, or both.
Angel, what does Jigsaw do? What does he like to put people in?
Torture devices.
A game, close enough. So he goes and...
That was a swing and a miss on my part.
You weren't that far off.
They're basically
that close.
I'll allow it.
Okay.
But yeah, essentially the Jigsaw killer goes and gets all these people involved in the scam and puts them through traps. And oh boy, are the traps in this movie really, really intense. Apologies if you're squeamish. There's one trap that has a lady essentially sawing her leg off. And that's not even the worst part about that trap. There's a guy, and like I said, this was in the trailer, so don't murder me. There's an individual who has to cut into his skull and dig out a piece of his cranium to get out of his trap. I love these movies so much. Let me tell you guys, I love these movies so much. This one is surprisingly, how do I put this?
Tame?
It's not tame. This is easily one of the goriest ones. But no, I wouldn't use tame as the word. It has the most story out of all of these movies, which is insane. And not only that, but they make you care about the Jigsaw Killer. In this movie, he's almost more of an anti-hero than a straight-up villain as he was in the first two movies, or first three movies, because even though there's 10 movies, he died in the third one. It's got...
Wait, so this is a prequel?
Yeah, this takes place chronologically in between the first two. So an interquel?
Midquel?
I think I've heard midquel before, I think.
I don't know if that's the actual term. Yeah.
This movie takes place in between the first two.
It's filler.
It's... I guess it is, because obviously we know the outcome of the Jigsaw Killer. So to a degree... So yeah, it is filler.
In a way.
That being said, it's probably the best filler that this series will ever... Not that this series will ever have, but it's probably some of the best filler I've ever seen, considering the subject matter and the previous movies. It's, like I said, it's just surprisingly well done. The acting is not great from anybody, with the exception of the Jigsaw Killer himself, Tobin Bell. It's probably the best that he's ever been. He puts on the clinic for this character, and like I said, this movie makes you feel for a serial killer. And I actually wouldn't mind if moving forward these movies were more about him as this sort of anti-hero than just serial killer, because if you guys have seen the Saw movies, well, I mean, Angel, you've only seen two. Some people get trapped for the most ridiculous things. Like some people absolutely do not deserve to get killed the way that they get killed in the series. But the people in these traps, they absolutely deserve everything that's coming to them, and that's just what it is with these guys here. These I guess these villains that we have in this movie. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, this has been the best one that we've had since the start, and there's talks about a Saw 11 and a Saw 12, and fingers crossed, because, and like I said, hopefully they go down this path of he is an anti-hero, getting rid of some of these despicable people, more than you stole a candy bar from a 7-Eleven. Now now I'm gonna put your hands
torture.
through this crushing device to make sure that you never steal again. That kind of thing, you know, or else your head gets ripped off.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, it's probably the best since the original. Arguably better than 3 through 9. Yeah, these I hope they keep going, because that movie was a lot of fun for someone like me who likes these terrible movies. I would suggest watching the first one at least, Jason. The first one is budget as hell, and it's not scary at all. It's more campy than scary.
Oh, I never knew it was campy. Maybe, actually, if it's campy,
not necessarily that it's campy. It's just crappy. more than campy.
Okay, fair.
But I would suggest it for sure.
Yeah, I'll work my way up to 10. one day.
No, you just watch the first one. And if the first one doesn't get you in it, like absolutely nothing will.
So is this like your horror Fast and Furious? Because I know how you feel about Fast and Furious.
That's an amazing way of putting it. That's a fantastic way of putting it. Yes.
Thank you. I've been waiting half of your impressions to say it because it dawned on me when you were talking about like your rankings, and I was like, oh, this is like Fast and Furious for you. Yeah.
Well, the only difference is Fast 10 debatably sucked. I wouldn't say that this movie sucked at all. But I get what you mean.
Well, they don't line up perfectly, I guess, but yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Saw 10, I might see it again soon. I don't know. So that's how much fun I had with that movie.
Isn't over for you.
No, I guess it isn't. But yeah, Saw 10 or Saw X or Socks. Yeah. What else is on here? Dragon Ball Superhero. Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball Superhero. Now, I know how much you've wanted to watch this movie, Jason.
You know me. I love TV shows that take... I know this is a movie, but it's based on a TV show. I love TV shows that take like 55 episodes to throw a punch. Yeah.
Yeah.
TV
shows, I'm sorry, sir. This is an anime, okay?
My apologies to the Japanese animated industry.
Yep.
Show industry. Animation industry. That's what I'm trying to say.
Industry.
See, the way it took me to say that sentence, extrapolate that out for like 50 more hours, and you get one scene in Dragon Ball. Yeah.
Okay, well, you don't have to go that hard, okay?
No, I know.
I mean, yeah,
I tried as a kid to get
a repetition,
into it,
but I think it was more the older stuff. I mean, I haven't seen any of the newer stuff, only have read Spark Notes or people tell me offhand like what's been going on. But the only thing I've seen of the new stuff is this movie and the movie that came right before. And Jason saw the movie right before this one. He did see Broly with us.
I did.
Broly.
I was sort of coaxed into seeing it, by which I mean everyone was hanging out, and then you guys just kind of put it on.
Yeah,
Broly came out of nowhere. A lot of ass. That movie rules.
I feel like I didn't fully appreciate it because I had no idea what anything was.
You couldn't appreciate the part where they punched. You couldn't appreciate that part where they punched each other's like fists so hard that they broke the space-time continuum.
I mean, that was in concept a funny idea. Yeah, I appreciated that. Yeah, but I didn't have some of our friends were like vocally freaking out, and I was just like, yeah, that's funny. That's cool. Okay,
yeah, because it was. I remember seeing that in theaters. With a couple of friends.
Oh, and with that POV fight in the beginning, like I did not expect them. I don't think I've ever seen something like that besides like in Mob Psycho second season. They do that very briefly, where like it's like superpowered people fighting, but you have the point of view of one of them. Like, why haven't we done that more often? But they did it here in such a cool way as like a Dragon Ball fighter, and you see the beams getting shot, you see Goku just getting wrecked. But the point is, second movie, like you can't keep, well, you can because it's Dragon Ball, but like in my head, like how do you like go from that? Because you have Broly, who is unimaginably powerful, you have Goku and Vegeta, who are unimaginably powerful, and then it's like how do you keep raising the stakes without it feeling more and more ridiculous? And I guess the answer was take them out of the movie. Like they literally get those three characters, put them in this little training area, and they're like, hey, we're busy doing this thing. Oh no, we have this thing going on at home and we need their help. Oh, but they can't answer because someone threw a popcorn bucket on top of the phone, basically. So it's up to...
like when Marvel conveniently made Captain Marvel too busy for anything?
Pretty much. I mean, you still get a fight scene with them where they're literally just sparring. And even that fight was still pretty cool. But yeah, like the meat of the movie is... I guess we'll call it the B team. Mainly Piccolo.
Don't you dare call my men Gohan and Piccolo the B team.
From my perspective. That being said, though, like, aren't they literally like? I mean, if Vegeta, Goku, and Broly are your A team, then they kind of have to be the B team, and then the people they called at the end for help like your Goten, Trunks, and Krillin are like your C team. Which, I guess Krillin still did stuff. I guess you could even argue that he had some important role. But anyway, the point is, this movie did actually make me a bigger fan of, Piccolo and Gohan in particular. I think especially Piccolo.
That was the whole point.
Yeah, like the goal was like specifically to make like those characters more popular. It definitely succeeded. But more than anything, I definitely have to commend it for its use of CG. Like there were some, like the whole movie was in CG, and I think when I first saw the trailer, like some parts I was like, "Whoa, that looks really cool," and then there were other parts that were like, "Oh, that looks like just CG." Like like some parts look better than others. Mainly when characters are just walking or just doing something not too exciting. But overall, though, like they pulled off the CG look so well that at times it looks like just a 2D film, but just you have the luxury of a very crazy camera that isn't limited by any 2D typical limitation. So if anything, it helps with the budget, which means you make the fights even more grand. And yeah, it was just really cool seeing like pull that off at times. Like there were some times where I think you stop thinking about it after a while, which is the best thing you could say about something like that. I mean, sometimes when anime shoehorns in 3D, well, I don't want to say that shoehorn in 3D, but sometimes when anime uses 3D, there were definitely growing pains, or there was a period where whenever you notice it, you would go like, oof, like, oh, they did that. Or when something that used to be 2D suddenly is now in 3D, and it just, it kind of pulls you out of it a little. It's kind of like when you see bad CG in a live action movie. But, this one, it's like they're figuring stuff out. I can only imagine what that next movie will look like if they decide to, like, build on this, which I really hope they do. I mean, I hope, like, it gets to such an affordable point that the show could just look like that. But, I don't know how much. But yeah, I don't know how much that actually costs.
They've already announced the next show, and that looks nothing like that.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
damn.
it's called Dragon Ball Daima.
Huh.
And they're little kids in the new show.
Wait, what? So it like takes this before Super? They going back?
No, it's more of
Muppet Babies.
They got pretty much the entire cast got turned into kids through the use of the Dragon Balls.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. But yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend this movie if you honestly like this one or the Bro movie. Like, if you want to get just like a taste of it, just like a fun anime good time. Like things get kind of crazy. Not, I wouldn't say super crazy. Like not to the point where it's like, oh, this is very like weird or like doesn't make any sense. Like it's all still, there are some rules that they kind of follow, but it's still, it's still over the top. It's still very fun. I mean, if you want to see over the top to the point where it's like, I don't know how this can like escalate any further and it just keeps going, you would watch Promare or Promea. That one is pretty nutty, which Kevin and I, my brother, revisited, I think last week. It's kind of randomly because my brother and I, when we saw it in theater, we were like 15 minutes late, so we missed like the opening act. And then I eventually watched it on Blu-ray, and then my brother finally got to watch the beginning. And it still holds up, but the art style, it's like, I mean, I like it, but some things, and I think you pointed this out, Kevin, where you're like,
yeah,
I get what they're doing with the fire, but it's like, I don't know.
No, it had something to do with like the fire trucks, where it looked like a CG cartoon for like the Disney Channel.
Oh, that's right. It was the designs of some. Yeah. And a lot of them look like straight up toys, but yeah, like I remember exactly that, Chris. And yeah, it definitely did look like that. The target audience was definitely. It definitely looked like the designs were for a younger crowd, but yeah, I mean, still a great movie. Still fun. Super, just kind of like. Just keeps going. It doesn't really give you a lot of time to breathe. But
yeah, that movie just once it starts, it does not like let go of the gas, which I think Broly was to a degree as well. To be honest, I think Gohan is my favorite Dragon Ball character, so the fact that they finally did my boy justice, because if you saw the Dragon Ball Z series, you'd see how they did my boy dirty. But
that's crazy. Me having a little kid now and everything. Because it's kind of weird because like to me the last time I watched Dragon Ball, like Gohan was like this little kid, and then I'm watching the series and it starts with like Piccolo like gonna go pick up this little girl from school, and then like her name is Pan, and then I was like, well, I had to ask him like, wait, who's that? They're like, oh, that's Gohan's daughter. Like, he has a daughter? And it's like, oh yeah, he's married to Videl, and I'm like, who's Videl? It's like, oh, Mr. Satan's daughter, and I'm like, Mr. Satan's in the family now, and stuff like that, because those characters, I knew them under a very different light, so the fact that that's a thing is interesting, and kind of makes me want to go back and see how that all came about. Isn't Videl like in Fighter Z? Is she just a human? I'm pretty sure she's a playable character. Because I wanted to say Mr. Saiyaman is like her like super or something like that, which I guess makes sense. But yeah, I want to say she was like DLC, but yeah, it's interesting how these characters definitely seem to be growing with, I guess, the viewership,
the audience.
Yeah. But yeah, that was Dragon Ball Superhero. It does live up to, it does heavily involve superheroes. I don't even think I even touched on that, but
you didn't touch on the story at all.
You did not say anything about heroes whatsoever.
And you could dumb down the story too. All superhero is literally just hey, Gohan's daughter gets kidnapped. Piccolo and Gohan go to rescue her. That's literally just the story.
Well,
you can even do that.
Yeah, villain themes himself after superheroes, and that's it.
Yeah, I think, aren't they literally just Hero 1, Hero 2? Yeah. I don't remember.
Something like that. Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. But yeah.
Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, that's right. No, yeah, like I said, as a huge Gohan fan, he's been my favorite character since Dragon Ball Z, and they really do him dirty in Dragon Ball Z, and not necessarily that they do him dirty in Broly or Super, but just the fact that he finally has a moment to shine, and that being like, oh, him having to save his daughter is like, it's like really, really nice. I'm happy for my boy now. But I think that's going to do it all for this episode. Unless I'm wrong.
No? Question mark?
I think you're right. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'm all good. More Mario Wonder for me.
I've never been good at housekeeping, so Jason.
I'm a pro. All right, here we go. Get ready. Okay. You can find us on all the podcasting apps. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on I almost said Stitcher. Doesn't exist. We're on Amazon Music. We're on TuneIn. We're on. Wow, I said I was good at this and I was bad at Pandora, iHeartRadio. There we go. You can find us on YouTube. Ram Nintendo is our name. You can find us on Twitter. Ram Nintendo is our name. You can find us individually on Twitter. JSR7 is my name. KVN Gomi is Kevin's name. And you can find Angel over on Instagram, World of Weros, with an S at the end. And that concludes housekeeping.
Angel, take us away.
To a place I want to return to. I hope that's the song lyric.